What up, what up? This is Master Vavi, everyone, and I'm back. It's true, we're done. We're done with the house, and we're back. We got the crib done, we're looking good, we got the jewelry. What is going on with New World and all this drama? I don't know, the New World is like a Mexican novel, I would say. Back on streaming on Twitch, we're having a blast. Check out some footage about this thing. I want you to teach me how to fish. That's the phrase of the day. Guys, don't forget to tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next one. Ah! What do you think? That we just snap our fingers and stuff turns on? That's not how this game works, Tony. You're fired. Get out. In the video that you guys been waiting for, the armor artifact. I don't even know the title that we're gonna give to this. Artifact armor tier list. Artifact armor tier list. Armor artifact. Okay. Wait, armor artifact tier list, my friends. What you've been waiting for season 7. This is brutal. Huge debate on stream about this thing. I've been thinking about it all night. I can't even sleep about it. Anyways, here it is. All the artifacts, armor artifacts, and let's put some dots on the thing before we go on with this. You guys need to understand what is the criteria for us to evaluate what is the S tier, A, B, C, D, and we have the special mentioning here or dog water tier list, okay? Keep moving here. This is a PvP artifact tier list, okay? So it's not considering PvE factors, even though a lot of them do apply to PvE, but the majority here is all gonna be PvP centered, focused, okay? 1v1s, 3v3s, OPRs, open world, and wars. Don't forget another effect that we're going to take heavily here is armor perks, okay? So that's going to be extremely important. Jumping into the first one, what do we got here, Tony? We got Cowl of Power. Yes, it's the Cowl of Power because it doesn't have any power. Unfortunately, as you guys know, this has Enchanted Ward and Health. That's going to be a huge factor for this bad boy. Enchanted and Health is going to be a huge factor. A special perk on this thing is if you hit an enemy while your mana is below 50%, gain 4 seconds of 25% increased damage with a 10-second cooldown. As you guys know, that is not really amazing. And for that reason alone, this is going to D tier. I'm not going to lose a lot of time with this. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty awesome, but really no one uses this. And we're going to talk about also something with AGS on this is the fact that all of the artifacts from the old school compared to the new school, right, of artifacts, or the first batch of artifacts compared to the new batch of artifacts, the difference is massive, my friends. The difference is brutal, and you guys are gonna see that after we do this tier list, okay? So Cowl of Power, let's put it straight up on us. This is gonna be D tier, okay? In my opinion, C tier is average. D is below average, very like bad. So Cowl of Power is set in stone. Then we got winged leather shoes. This is something that's been getting a lot of importance in the community. Why is that? Because haste is king. I've been saying this since season 4 or 5. I can't really remember, but it was a while ago that I said haste is king in this game, and whoever has more haste nowadays moves faster, and dang, I think 50% is a lot. It is extremely hard to hit someone with a 50% cap of haste. It is so hard to hit them, and therefore this winged leather shoes, you guys know, if you guys don't know it, this gives you speedy. That's the artifact. That's what it's gonna do to you. Base duration of haste on you are increased by 50% and deal 10% more base damage while hasted. This is the biggest thing about these boots, is the fact that they are base damage increase. So for that reason alone, this is gonna bump it up to A tier. It's also, you know, currently a little bit of meta. We're not following metas here, but it's a little bit of meta. Honestly, everyone has haste in this game. Everyone is running those haste perks. Everyone dodges and gets a little bit of haste. So your base damage is not counting for your empowerment cap. So for that reason alone, it's gonna be A tier. I did not put it as S tier because unfortunately it does not meet the criteria for an S tier. This still lacks a little bit in some factors that you guys are gonna see with the next artifacts that are gonna come up. All right, then we got the beautiful Gray's Wizard's hat. If you guys don't know about this one, bro, I don't know what they think about this, but the interesting part about this one, it has 45 intelligence as their attribute points, which I never actually even looked at this. But this artifact is just average, man. The good thing is that it's light, but it has refreshing and physical aversion. Like, what the heck, man? It is so average that the the special ability of this artifact, it's brilliant. It's not brilliant at all, HGS. It's pretty dumb to me. Increase max mana by 100% of the base value. What? This was a waste of time. Whoever wrote this down was probably someone's developer's kid. It just said, just give it another boost 100. Why? This is gonna meet our first piece that enters our new special list of dog water tier list, my friends. That is right. That's gonna be the first item, the Gray's Wizard's Hat. Why? Because it's not brilliant at all. It's dog water. Not even mages use this. I can imagine that. We're gonna have to move on. Check out these Creed boots. What does a Creed boots have? Look at this. Ambush deals 15% more damage, and 25% critical chance as long as you haven't hit the target within 20 seconds. Then it has refreshing and freedom. Freedom, meh. Really meh right now. That's what kind of contributes to the fact that it's not a good piece. Also the fact that it has 20 seconds, right? So you're in a 1v1, these boots are not gonna excel, right? I see this maybe with a fire staffer on ramparts, because all of you love to be on ramparts shooting your fire staffs, right? We know it. Or a bow in a war or something like that. They can kind of excel a little bit with bowcaster and stuff like that, but besides that, I really don't see a lot of use for these boots. I don't want to take too much time on these pieces, but honestly, this is for me below average. This is below average. I think this is going to be the first one to go to C tier, actually. It misses a lot of things. It has freedom as a perk. It doesn't have a good resistance, you know. And then refreshing, okay, it's fine. But then you have such a big 20 second. So most of the time in your fights, in a 3v3 and stuff like that, your 20 seconds, you're dead. Like that time has been gone by. Like 20 seconds is a long time in New World. So that is really important. And for that reason, Creed boots are not going to make it. They're going to stay in C tier, guys. I don't think it's going to move up. I actually think it's going to move down. Moving on to Djinn headwrap. My friends, Djinn headwrap. Oh boy. It's hot poopa caca diarrhea. We debated a lot about this in the stream, and it's interesting because I think this is a season 7 artifact. I honestly think this was made for season 7. It is so heavy on burns and bleeds and dots. I think season 7 is about dots. It is what it is. And this on paper, it's interesting. Reduce the base duration of non-crowd controlling debuffs on you by 20%. So the bad thing about it, and someone brought it on stream, was that it's a base duration that it reduces. I still think that it's good because it's still reducing 20%, which is a pretty good value. And it's all the time. It doesn't have a cooldown. But then you hit it with a nice slap in the face with invigorated invigor. I mean, I get it, but you need to stack this. So your artifact is basically dead out the get-go. I can see this being used here and there. I initially bought this Djinn wrap to at first B tier, but honestly, thinking about it, and the more I think about it, it's a C-tiered artifact. It's really C tier. I think it's still better than Creed boots. Why? Because it's a medium piece that can be used in multiple builds, and currently it's a meta for the dots are meta for this season 7. So that is gonna make it in front of Creed boots. And honestly, Creed boots are just like, it has so much time that they're off for you. So for that reason, Djinn headwrap makes it into C tier, first place of C tier, high C tier, and we move on to the next one. Survivor's Coat. Guys, this is one of the artifacts that pisses me off the most because I saw the potential that this piece had, and I said this multiple times also on stream that I think this artifact came in to compete with the big boy Vord darkplate. I think this piece, honestly, from the developers' perspective, came in to fight with the big boy. And before this patch of season 7, it was actually pretty good. But what did they do to it? They decided to nerf healing in general in this game. And also they decided to touch the chest piece that no one was using, or a little bit of people were using it, not a big number, but they decided to nerf it to the ground to the point that this is completely unviable in my opinion, honestly. So they decided to touch it, and look at what it does right now. Survive. If you get hit while your health is below 50, 50%, gain 50 stamina, lose all debuffs, and gain a potion surge that will recharge your next healing potion instantly, right? And then it puts you with a nice 120-second cooldown, which is pretty big, but this is a heavy piece, right? So we're assuming that you're a heavy boy whenever you're using this, and you don't need to pot that often. So this, for me, this was before the patch. This, for me, was a big competitor with darkplate, and a lot of people were looking aside of this. This is a very good piece as it was. Then look at what these guys just did. They added another point saying can't use multiple potion surges within 75 seconds of each other. So this changes completely this piece, messes it up completely. Why? Because they're nerfed the pots heavily, which I don't agree with, and I might be doing a video in the future of the state of Newworld and what I think of it. I think this potion thing that they've done to it, I think it's going to be a massive problem to everyone. Basically, regen pots are dead, and not trying to deviate, but this piece just got butchered to the ground. So this piece for me would be an easy A tier, in my opinion, an easy A tier. But because of what they did to Survivor's Coat, I think this actually is going to move down a D tier. It's going to move down a D tier, and guess what? It's worse than the Cowl of Power. It is worse than it because there's so much cooldown right now on this thing, and it won't reset all of your pots. Sure, the stamina surge is great. Losing all your debuff is great, but it's not enough to compete with the big boys. They're not good in 1v1s. You can't pot and all that stuff. At 3v3s, it's a massive cooldown, so you're barely going to use this thing. For that reason, Survivors Go, I'm sorry, you're brand new to the team, but you didn't make it, brother. You're going down a D tier. Tumbler feetwraps, ladies and gentlemen, we got one of the OG's all-time school artifacts. This guy comes with a physical aversion and refreshing 4%, and then it has a nice perk of shirking blessing. Successfully dodging an attack gives you 15% in power and 25% fortify for 5 seconds. You are also healed for 200 plus 2% of your max HP and 1 second cooldown. Guys, 1 second cooldown. This makes this artifact one of the best artifacts in this game, and in my opinion, this is actually going to be the best one so far in this tier list. It's going to be the first one to make it into Saitama level. I used to say this tier list should be viewed as S tier, is separate from everyone else. It's above everything else, and this can be used very well in a light build, in a medium build, in a heavy build, in wars, in 3v3s, OPRs, arenas, multiple clump fighting, 1vxing. It is extremely powerful because dodging is such an important game, and if you have a kit that gives you a lot of stamina with the combination of Ankh on this thing, this is just a force to be reckoned with. So this is going to be our first S tier artifact armor piece that's going to make it into this list, and I think there's no argument into this. This is really, really good. Now the question is, will it be first place or last place of the S tier? Continue, stick on to the video. Let's go. That's a nice ad. We go on to the Ironheart piece, and this is another one, man, that it just needs a little bit of love. I don't know. You guys are going to see, honestly, in the end of this tier list, the difference between the old school and the new school artifacts. They're losing a little bit of their greatness. So that's why everyone keeps using the old stuff. Anyways, Ironheart, this has Enchanted War which is very good, and then Refreshing, which is very good. And then what it has is, when not in a heavy loadout, increase max health by 20% of the base value. So you would say, man, this is really good. No, it's dog water. First point, it's heavy. Second point, you can't use it on heavy. Third point, you can't use it in light. So this immediately reduces the options for this build. These artifacts that can only be used in one weight class, you need to make it actually like better, like than the average. And that's the problem with the Ironheart. You can only use it with medium, and then it doesn't compete with the big boys that can only be used in medium. So Tumbler feetwraps beats it by a mile because it's just simply better. And this is a heavy piece, so it messes up with your build. You can't use it in light because it won't work when not in a heavy loadout. Increase max health, but you can't, guess what, you can't use this in light because then your weight class will always be medium. So you can't use it in light. You gotta use it in medium, and that's the whole argument. And for that reason, it's kind of disappointing because on paper it gives you a lot of HP. I can see some tank boys using this thing and being like 30k, 35k, I don't know, HP, whatever you guys can meet, because some of you dudes look like some wild animals that just don't die. But this is gonna be another piece that's gonna go to D tier. Another one, the D tier. This is a lot. The list is not going well. It's like it's already going downwards like that, and it's starting like the D tier, and it's gonna be longer by the end of this thing. I assure you that. It's gonna be your first place of D tier, Ironheart. Unfortunately for him, he's not gonna make it. It's gonna be into below average. And now we move on to a piece that's gonna have a lot of debate in the comment section. I assure you this is gonna have a lot of debate in the comment section. Magnetic gauntlets. This is something that is so special. I love this piece. What it does, I think, is extremely interesting. It has physical aversion, refreshing. Also, crit chances increased by 50%. But your crit damage is reduced by 30. I think that is a big hit on your crit damage, but still, you're hitting crits all of the time. And the problem here is that this piece, it's heavy, but you gotta be IGVG. This is the only piece that you can only use it with one build, and prove me that I'm wrong. And you can't even do that anymore because they also nerfed a lot of the stuff for the void and the crit chances for the void. So this is messing with the meta a lot, which is great, but it didn't mess with it to give value to the magnetic gauntlets. It needs a rebuff or rework into this piece. In my opinion, AGS, what you should do with this piece is put a medium. Change this to medium. You know why? Because I want to do a build for this in light. I can't, because every piece that's heavy, guess what? You can't use it in light. So now you're limiting the piece to be only used in medium and heavy. And guess what? This is just for crit chance. Your crit damage is lost. So you need weapons that give you high crit damage and high crit chance to make sense. Guess what? Those are gonna be light builds. It's not gonna work. And for that reason, this was a huge debate on stream, guys. And I'm gonna put this, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put this all the way down into D tier. And it's gonna be better than Survivor's Code. Why? I mean, it just is. For now, that's all it can do. It doesn't have anything to add to a team besides being in medium and heavy and IGVG. It's still that currently in season 7. So I think for that reason, it needs to have more value. These pieces need to be more valuable in more scenarios. It's not about my preference. It's about an overall general analysis of what's the scenario and what it can do and what value can it be used in multiple situations, not in just 1 or 2 wars. Okay, my friend, war loggers, calm down. Say it in the comments what you have to say, okay? Let's move on to the next one. Ghostly Touch. What does it have? Ghostly Touch. For me, they're really interesting on paper. We got Enchanted Ward and Refreshing, really good. And then as a perk, they have when you hit an empowered foe, dispel 2 of their empowers and give yourself 10 seconds of 10% in power, and it's only a 4-second cooldown. This is very interesting on paper. I still want to test this a little bit more, but there is some important, like there's some interesting builds that this could be used with. Dispelling the empower of people. Everyone is running a lot of empower right now, so I think this could actually work with a lot of clump fighters, and that could actually be something that could be massive. It's a medium piece. It's pretty easy to get. It can work in multiple builds. Now, is it better than a lot of the builds that we have here? No, it's not. Ghostly Touch, it's lackluster a little bit overall, and I think not a lot of people are going to be using this because it simply can't compete. Because once you start looking at this list, you start, is it better than this? No. Is it better than this? No. Is it better than this? No. So it keeps moving down. A lot of them are interesting on paper, but they just keep moving down because of their usability or situationalness or weight class or something like that. I'm sorry, but this for now, it still hasn't been used a lot enough and proven enough to be good enough. I'm gonna put Ghostly Touch. It is a ghost. It's not gonna show up in town a lot. It's gonna be in C tier for now. I think it's still gonna be rearranged and maybe a little bit improved, but Ghostly Touch, you're staying right there, my friend. You might actually move backwards. We come into the very beloved Attuned leather pants. If you guys don't know what this does, by this time you are a noob. That is guaranteed for sure. This gives you 10 points, 11 points actually to be precise, on each of your attribute points, guys. This is insane. It's plus 10 constitution, plus 10 focus in all of them. This helps a lot of builds reach their goal of points in the attribute list because that is very important. It also has elemental aversion and refreshing. Two of the best perks for an artifact that is Beast of the Beast. It's also medium class. You can use this with every class, light, medium, heavy, and all the light boys are running this. Musket players are running this because they're brain dead, so they can only do one build with their void gauntlets. I'm sorry, I get emotional. Pants here, we love it. You guys know it. Attuned leather pants is obviously going to be very, very, very high. Now it's a big debate. Is this S tier or A tier? Guys, we thought about it. Me and Tony, me and whatever the cats, and it's gonna be A tier. A tier plus, and again, I keep saying S tier is best of the best that works for every scenario, and it's the best for every scenario for most of the builds. Don't forget. A tier, why? It's top A tier, so it's really close to moving to S tier. Okay, guys, don't think that A tier is bad. No, it's really good, but it still lacks for the heavy boys. Even for the medium boys, it doesn't meet a lot of these medium requirements for the medium people. So it's mostly used for light builds, because if you're a medium, you're probably gonna go Tumbler. If you're a bruiser, you're probably gonna go Tumbler over this all the time. Does it compete with winged leather shoes? Yes, it does. Not competable. It does beat winged leather shoes all day, all night. Okay, winged leather shoes is really good, but it's very situational. It's only when you're haste. It's really good, but I don't think best of the best. The Attuned leather pants makes you reach a lot of those points that you need for the damage on these dex players and in players. So Attuned leather pants is going to be top A tier. I'm sorry, it's not S tier. It is not. And if you think about it and you don't just think about your build, you're going to realize that this is A tier and not an S tier. Sorry. Moving on to the Jillies. So Jillies, Gillies, whatever this thing is, gravity gauntlets. Stupid ass name, and it has enchanted board and health, which is okay. It's a heavy piece, a lot of heavy pieces in this thing. And then the artifact weapon or ultimate is charged. Whenever you take damage, gain an empower charge that increases the damage of your next attack by 2%, and it's a max of 10 charges, which is not going to be insane, guys. This is not going to be insane in terms of empowerment, in terms of an empowerment cap. I don't think it's usable in a lot of situations. Don't forget, one of the causes that you need to use this, whenever you take damage, gaining power, that charges increases damage in your next attack. So you need to take hits in order for this to activate. That is kind of stupid to me, because it only activates whenever you're taking damage. So if you're good at moving, or if you're in the battles that are you're just range or something like that, it's not going to be as valuable. So it's a heavy piece. It can't be used in light, so it's losing a lot of its benefits. And honestly, no one's using this. This is honestly not usable if we think about it, guys. So this is actually going into the dog water tier list, guys. This is going to be another piece that's going into the dog water tier list. It's not good. It doesn't meet a lot of requirements. You need to take a lot of damage in order for this thing to stack. So why would I want to take damage? I'm going to try to run away. You can be a heavy boy that can see some valuable insight into this, but if you're heavy, you're not going to go for the Gillies, gravity gauntlets over everything else that you have for heavy that's going to be better for you. So I'm sorry, you just keep moving down the list, and here you are in dog tier list, okay? Nature's Wrath. Oh, my Nature's Wrath. My beloved Nature's Wrath. Medium piece with enchanted word and refreshing. Another one really good. Nature's Blessing as a perk. Limited duration of empowers expired instantly. And durationless empowers potency is reduced by 50%. So it's reducing the power of your empowerments, right? But you always deal 20% more base damage. That is great. Your limited empowers, what it means is that the empower, let's say with a musket or a fire staff, something that you hit a headshot and you get a 3-second empowerment, you're done. That's dead. That's like, you don't get that anymore, my friend. So no more empowerments for you. You do 20% more damage all the time. But is this going to beat the other medium boys that now are here to help you out? No, it's not. They nerfed this thing so bad. And they also nerfed your durationless empowerments. So like your bigger empowerments that are always on, their strength is also reduced by 50% because they're giving you 20% more damage. I don't think this works. It's not good right now for season 7, my friends. It is simply not good. They nerfed it so bad that it's not usable, but it still has its place. But because 20% more damage, if you're a squishy boy and you want to run this and try it out and give it a shot, this thing can still pump some damage, and it can still be usable in light, medium, heavy. It's still viable in 1v1s, 3v3s, and a lot of scenarios. So I'm actually going to have to put this in front of Djinn headwrap. It still has a lot of usability. It's better than most of these D tier that are just not going to be used at all. Djinn wrap, it's a season 7, like I said. Creed boots is situational, but it has some good stuff to it. The ghostly touch still has some, some usability to it, but it's still, Nature's Wrath is still going to beat all of these guys, and it's going to be on the top of the C tier level. And yeah, keep moving. Koya's knee guards. Guys, Koya's knee guards is something that everyone, I believe every New World player has at least tried or thought about this thing, because it's so easy to drop. That's another thing. It's so easy to drop. It has 2 really good perks, or 1 average perk, Enchanted Ward and Physical Aversion. Okay. And then you have reinforced kneecaps. Your kneecaps are a little bit stronger. Incoming range attacks deal 13% less damage to you. Range is stronger than ever in season 7. I played yesterday in OPR, and I was easily facing 10 to 15 players that were bows. 10 to 15 players that were playing with a new bow. Bow is one of the most beloved weapons in this game. It's so stylish, has a lot to it, fast rate of fire, and the artifacts for the bows are always like awesome. You would think that you need some incoming ranged reinforcement kneecaps, and guess what? You put this thing on, you put your Enchanted Ward on, and you stack this bad boy, and boy oh boy, it doesn't do crap. 13%, it is not worth it. It is a light piece. It's not worth it for the heavy boys, maybe for the medium guys, but it's definitely not worth it for the light. We're extremely squishy in order to do damage, so this needs to be strictly a damage mitigation thing. This could probably gain some value if it was elemental aversion on this, elemental aversion, Enchanted Ward, and maybe buff it up to 15% resistance. And I honestly think that this thing actually doesn't even work properly as it should, and we had proof of that with this season 7 coming in with a 370 fix list that had so many fixes and bugs that we didn't even know about. And because a lot of these things are broken, not working properly, I think New World needs to sit their asses down and check all of their stats, all of their coding, in order to make sure all these artifacts are working properly. It's definitely going to be in the C tier. This is not a dog water artifact, okay guys? Not everything is dog water. It still has a place in this list. Is it better than the Creed boots? Yes, it is, because the Creed boots are way more situational. Creed boots only work whenever you haven't hit that person. Even with a ghostly, situational, you need to get hit in order for it to proc, right? That empowerment, and you're only getting 2%. Also, you have a big cooldown on this, so it's on par with Djinn headwrap. Honestly, it's weird on paper. It sounds good, but then it doesn't really feel that good enough, so it's behind Djinn wrap. It's average, below average, so we're gonna put it right here behind Djinn headwrap. Okay guys, moving on to the beloved Nimble Co. Lost a lot of its value, unfortunately. This thing has really good things to it. It misses out because they also nerfed this a little bit. I believe this was 13%, but guess what? Now it reduces max cooldowns 8%, and then it has refreshing and health. Health is meh. It's not good enough to buff this. And 8%, honestly, cooldown reduction, come on, it's an artifact. It should not only have double of what a normal perk is. This thing should be pumping. You know what? You want to buff this and make this actually something interesting? Make this piece have something else than refreshing. Yes, it sounds kind of contradicting, but yes, buff it up to 10%, to 12%. Buff it up to 12%. Remove the refreshing out of it. Put health and put another perk. this might buff it up to a higher level with a Nimble coat. Nimble coat lost a lot of its value, but it's still extremely good compared to a lot of these artifacts in this list. This was one of the best BIS artifacts for your healers. As you guys know, the healing factor, you need those cooldowns. Also for PvE, which we're not adding to this list, but it's like really good. But also for your IGVGs, oh my god, IGVG in line with this thing would smack spikes every 2 seconds, and it was simply broken, right? So that's why they kind of nerfed it a little bit. Instead of nerfing the ice golem, they nerfed the artifact. Really wise. But anyways, it did go a little bit down on its significance, and also it's not usable. It's not usable for a light DPS. It's not usable for a medium DPS. It's not usable for a heavy boy. It's not gonna make sense for most of these builds unless it's an IGVG high cooldown thing that needs to be reduced, or a healer that still wants to play with this so he can clap a little bit faster for his buddies. So this lost a lot. Otherwise, it's going to be S tier, guys, because it's so valuable and so important. This actually came all the way down to B tier. This also actually came all the way to B tier. So yeah, Nimble coat lost a lot of its big value into the war scenario. So yeah, it's B tier, my friends. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And we move on to one of the biggest contradicting things that we had on stream. We lost our crap multiple times, I can assure you that. K says, Snetops, I showed up late as Azoth conductor, bro. We lost it. We lost it, chat. We lost it, people, because Azoth conductors is theoretically broken right now with the fire staffs and the combinations, just like Nature's Wrath was. And I think there's something going on with this Azoth conductors and the medium builds, fire staff, with also elemental bend. There's something going on because, again, you put 50% resistance of fire, and Azoth conductors just makes a medium build not squishy and hits you so freaking hard. We know that AGS wants to force the medium builds into us. We know that they want to force this thing into us. We know it. They've said it multiple times. They want people to start, like, medium to start, you know, start being the new normal. This thing is very powerful. The name is stupid as hell. Azoth conductors. For some reason, someone mistyped this. Instead of inductors, put conductors. But dang, this thing is powerful. This thing is very powerful. If you guys don't know what it does, Magician's Boon. This was made for fire staffs, guys. If in a medium equip weight, deal 15% more elemental damage. Refreshing health are the perks on this thing. Okay, the perks are kind of meh. Health is rarely mad to be on this, so it loses a couple points in my opinion. But man, it's only usable in medium. This guy could be easily one of the S tiers of this list. They had to put it a condition that is so strong. If in a medium equip weight class. So guess what? You can only use Azoth conductors in a medium build, guys. And for that reason, I'm gonna put this in C tier. This is gonna be the top of the list of C tier, class. It just could not compete, guys. Why? Because it's extremely good. Everyone came in chat and say, oh, my medium build is smacking with this. Oh, my medium mage build. Oh, my medium mage build. You didn't see anyone else talking about the Azoth conductors. Why? Because it simply won't scale good enough with the strength abilities or strength weapons. So that's a -5. It won't scale good enough with a lot of weapons into the light scenario. What does this scale off, Will? Pretty well. Your medium bowcasters, and guess what? Your medium fire staffs. Fire staff is just so beloved. It's another way of the AGS butchering this game. And guess what? You can't use it with light and you can't use it with heavy. So this can only be used in one weight class. Sure, it's really good, but does it work with everything, with every build, with every weapon? No. So for that reason, it's going to C tier, guys. It's staying there in C tier, and I'm not changing my mind. I thought about this because everyone's going to say in the comments that I'm wrong, and I'm not. The more you think about it, this Azoth conductors, even though they're smacking right now, they're deleting everyone with these Azoth conductors. They're extremely resistant. They delete every light player. Every light player. I'm not going to repeat it. Again, I'm done. I'm done. Not talking about it anymore. Unyielding, the condom head. If you guys don't know what Unyielding does, it is really actually really good on paper, but it's actually not. PvP only. Why is this the only artifact in the world that only works for PvP? Receive 20% less damage from critical hits. This helmet's weight is reduced by 6%. It's the only weapon, it's the only armor piece artifact that only works for PvP. This is crazy. Even though this is the PvP list, I don't get the idea. And then receive 20% less criticals, right? And then the helmet is the weight is reduced to 6% down. So that means you can use it in light, medium, and heavy. So that's a good thing on it. Otherwise, we'll lose a lot. But then you got shirking fortification and refreshing on it. For the love of God, man. Unyielding is such a below average piece, but it's actually usable. So this is not a D tier because it's better than most of these guys, theoretically. It's better than most of these guys, and it's better than Koya's knee guards because that simply doesn't work. And it actually, you know, I've used this thing. It's actually pretty good. You stack up some shirking fortification, you know, even you medium boys can, you know, I think this is better than Koya's knee guards, and it's pretty good. Pretty good, actually. So I'm going to put it as C tier. A lot of people don't like it, but I think it's actually pretty decent. We go into Featherweight, my friends. What's going on with Featherweight? Why is Featherweight so good? It's part of the old school artifacts. Featherweight is no question at all that Featherweight is going to make it into our C tier out of the bat without thinking too much. What it does is so unique. It's easy to farm. It's easy to get. Sure, you got physical aversion on it, which isn't great, but you got this armor weight is weightless. This opens so many possibilities for so many builds, so much resistance. So Featherweight is probably the choice for most people in most of the scenarios. Healers, light attackers, light assassins, DPS folks, 1v1s, OPR, open world, so you can be more resistant in multiple scenarios. In the wars, like, you need, like, everyone is so squishy right now. Everyone dies so quick. There's so many dots. So you need resistance. And the Featherweight just takes over everything, the whole world. And it's actually in front of Tumbler feetwraps. It is going to make it into the first place of S tier. Featherweight, I think there's no question about it that Featherweight just beats everyone in this tier list. It's going to be the #1 armor artifact tier list. This freaking title. It's going to be the #1. It's, guys, if you want to see who stays at the top, that's who's going to stay at the top. I don't think it's even debatable anymore. Let's go to the quick draw gloves. Quick draw gloves, look at what it does. You're immune to damage for 0.5 seconds after your weapon swap. And then they butcher it to the ground by giving it a 12-second cooldown with freedom as a perk, ladies and gentlemen. This thing, it's honestly embarrassing. In timing that perfectly to get that 0.5 seconds resistance to everything, where you're immune to everything, it's extremely hard to do. So it's very situational. You got to master it extremely. But then you say it works all the time. No. It has a 5-second cooldown. No. It has a 12-second cooldown, which is insane. Most of the time you're going to be dead. No one's going to use this over Featherweight. Whoever's using this is a joke. I think this is part of the second batch of artifacts that came out. As soon as I read this, I was super excited. Okay, I'm going to be immune. 12-second cooldown? This is dead out of the gate. And for that reason alone, guys, honestly, this is dog water tier list, guys. This is dog water. It's going to be behind the gravity gauntlets, but it's dog water, and the Grace hat is just worse than it because it's just like terrible. But the quick draw gloves are simply unusable. Unusable for any scenario. And you guys can see this, how this whole tier list just is going downwards. There's not a lot to give to the S tier class. It should be a little bit more towards the A, Bs here and have a couple of CDs. But no, we got a dog water tier list, and that's where it's going. we go into the next one, which is going to be Void Darkplate. If you guys don't know what Void Darkplate is doing, you're probably lost. Your armor is increased by 20%. It's a heavy piece, heavy boy, the king of all kings, the enchanted ward, the physical aversion on it, the big boy, big tomato, and the table. This is going to be obviously a S tier god of all gods, and it's actually going to beat Tumbler feetwraps. It's gonna beat Tumbler feetwraps because it's better in heavy, it's better in medium. It just doesn't beat it in light beast because you can't use it, but it's just that good, man. You have so much resistance, so much escapability because you're just lasting longer, and you can still pump a lot of damage with this thing. This is gonna give you so much armor, you know, and resistance to all this damage that's going on in DPS. So Void Darkplate is also not very debatable. Featherweight is the only one that can beat it, honestly. It will beat Tumbler feetwraps by a mile, easy to beat it. Tumbler feetwraps work, but you got a specific style. You got to be good at dodging. It's also very situational. This is always working. You're always getting that resistance at 20%. So for that reason, it's going to stay here. S tier or third armor being on this S tier, it's going to be Void Darkplate. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Cowl gloves. We move on to Cowl gloves, and we're almost done with this, guys. Almost done with this. Look at this medium piece, and it gives you what? When you hit a foe that is below half health, transfer 1 debuff, 3-second cooldown. Obviously, this is going to be dog water. Obviously, this is going to make it into the dog water tier list. It gives you elemental aversion and refreshing. Sure, that it's a plus, but then it's a medium piece. Okay, and then you got to hit someone that's half HP to get what? 1 debuff? What is this? You're giving him 1 debuff that he gave to you? God dang, these guys got to swing 1 sword at you and you'll get 3 debuffs. 1 is not enough with 3-second cooldown. Oh my god, they gotta wake up. This is a dog water tier. Ghoul gloves, you're dead. I'm not gonna even waste time with these Ghoul gloves. I'm gonna move straight on to the next one, which is gonna be freedom, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is definitely free because no one's using it, no one wants it. So it's gonna be enchanted ward and freedom. Another perk that is butchered. I don't think freedom is good at all. You can stack it up. I've tested it myself, stacked it up to 4 times of this piece on my armor, and it's just not good. So freedom is not a good perk. I'm sorry, enchanted ward is for sure. And then you got unhinging freedom, stun, slow, and root effects. Base duration is reduced by 20%. Bro, for real, base duration is reduced by 20%. It is, come on, bro. It is not good at all, guys. Freedom is gonna make it into the D tier. It's gonna be Ironheart. No, it's gonna be Cowl of Power. It's not, but it's gonna be Magnetic Gauntlets because it's more usable, less situational than the Magnetic Gauntlets in the Survivor's Go. It doesn't have a cooldown, so for those reasons, it's gonna be Magnetic Gauntlets in Survivor's Go. But it's simply a bad armor artifact piece. I would not waste your time with this piece at all with the freedom pants. So forget about it. And it's heavy, so you can't use it in light as well. And then we go into the last one, guys. We're gonna finish this tier list with the Unmoved, which is gonna be Grit Ward, the first piece that has Grit Ward on it, minus 3% while you're under the effects of Grit. And then you got Physical Aversion, which is meh. And then you got Unmovable as a perk. You say you cannot be displaced. This is interesting because you cannot be pulled with a reap from a great axe. You cannot be moved with a gravity well. You cannot move these players that are using this piece. You can be baited into some bad situations against these guys. You think you're gonna get them, you're not gonna get them. But it's heavy, you can use it in light. No one's gonna use this over any of the other pieces that are above it. No one's gonna use this piece above any of these. All right, no one's gonna use this piece over anything that's in front of it. No one. So I actually put this right into D tier. It's gonna be in front of Survivor's Co. It's not gonna be Magnetic Gauntlets because it's just so bad. This piece is actually bad, guys. It is very situational, so you got so many people that are not gonna have that ability of trying to move you. There's so many abilities that don't actually move you from your place. Maybe with this seasonal PvP, there's a lot of abilities that move players from where they are and they can be displaced. That's where maybe these boots could be used a little bit more. But honestly, it's not gonna be worth it. You're just gonna go for Void Darkplate or Ironheart or something else on a heavy build that's just gonna be better for you. You're not gonna use the Unmoved over, I don't know, as Azoth and conductors or I don't know, wing leather shoes or Void Darkplate. You're simply not gonna do it. Magnetic gauntlets is gonna be better. So yeah, it's not gonna beat it. And we finish off our tier list like that, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's kind of complex and it's long. I appreciate you guys being here and sticking into the video. If you have a different opinion about everything that we just spoke about in this part in this video, please drop it here in the comments. I want to hear about all of you guys. 1v1 masters, all of you 1 solo 1vx masters, all of you warloggers gods. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube and subscribe and like this video, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.